We have a major Scottie Barnes update as Scottie has spoken out about his development this offseason and specifically regarding his jump shooting said a lot of things that have Raptors fans very excited. Additionally, we have a draft update for the Toronto Raptors. Zach Edey as well as Kel'el Ware are both linked to the Toronto Raptors in recent scouting reports, and essentially Zach Edey seems to be jumping a lot of people right now, so a lot of eyes, whether you like him or whether you don't, as a pick at number 19 for the Toronto Raptors. Eyes are on whether or not Zach Edey will be available for the Toronto Raptors and whether or not it makes sense for the team to pick him up. So we're going to break down all of the latest regarding these guys in the NBA draft. And folks, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with everything regarding the Toronto Raptors entering the NBA draft and free agency. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion because this has me absolutely amped up. Scottie Barnes taking a massive leap in a similar vein to what he did last season, going from upper tier role player to a guy that ended up being an all-star out there in the Eastern Conference. And it seems like Scottie Barnes is once again putting in the work to take one more of those jumps this offseason. Scottie Barnes recently came out on a live stream and said that he's been working on a ton of mid-range moves, read and reaction off the ball dribbles, and just trying to read defenders. If they are cutting me off, making a secondary move, I'm just using my bumps and rising over the top of defenders. So Scottie Barnes was essentially asked on a recent live stream about the things he's been working on, the things he's been adding to his bag, adding to his game this offseason, and the fact that he opened up, he started with this saying that, he's working on those tough middies, those tough jump shots that we've seen guys like Kawhi Leonard hit to win the Toronto Raptors win an NBA championship. Luka Doncic to take his team to the NBA Finals. Because, again, when it gets down to it, obviously star players, they get open looks in the regular season, they can get to the rim and stuff, but things clog up come money time, come the time of year when things very much matter. And frankly, the Toronto Raptors, if we want to get back into contention at some point, soon, obviously the rebuild seems like it's going to take a couple of years, but if Scottie Barnes is going to lead that way, he's going to be able to need to get easy shots, easy looks for this Toronto Raptors group if that paint is clogged, if they're cutting off, running them off the three-point line. And really, a lot of star players in the NBA right now are capable of getting high percentage elite mid-range jump shots and getting to their spots, staying on balance in that mid-range area and knocking down those buckets. And with Scottie Barnes' quicker release now developed over recent seasons with his athleticism, ball handling ability, and just overall body control, if he's able to knock down those mid-range jump shots at an elite clip, at an elite level, that's going to unlock a lot of things, especially for crunch time offense for this Toronto Raptors group. Because again, those shots, we saw it, obviously, with Kawhi Leonard, even DeMar DeRozan, who could knock down the three the same way, but that mid-range jump shot, when you get to your spot, it looks so crispy, especially for a guy like Kawhi during that playoff run. And obviously, it's going to be tough to ever get to that elite level, Kawhi Leonard-esque mid-range jump shot level, two of the greatest of all time the Toronto Raptors have had, on their groups. But if Scottie Barnes can get to a place where he's able to rise up and knock down those types of shots, heck, even Jaylen Brown's doing it in the NBA Finals. Those big wings, it just unlocks so much more for their game. So that's huge for the Toronto Raptors, and Scottie essentially came out, which honestly might even have me more excited, is there's a lot of catch and shoots from spot ups, corners, wing, top of the key. Those are the things that he was really working on last season, saying really just extending my range, been really working on my pickups off the dribble. But the thing that has me amped, especially the tone of voice in which he said this, is that the jump shot feels amazing, and he really emphasized that. He was talking about how that jumper just feels heck of a ton times better, coming into this year, because again, there were question marks about Scottie Barnes' jump shot and his ability to keep up what he was doing at the start of the season, because Scottie was shooting close to 40% behind the three-point line, for the first couple months of the year. Then obviously we trade away OG, we trade away Pascal, and more of the defensive focus became on Scottie Barnes, being that top guy. And, his percentages weren't as great to close off the season, right? Still put up a phenomenal year, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, but only shot 34% from behind the three-point line to close off the year, and 36% on corner threes and stuff. So essentially, and 31% of all of his shots were from the three-point range. Still only 22 years old. It's crazy how young Scottie Barnes is, but and the fact that the percentages went down had some Raptors fans worried, hey, maybe we jumped the gun and giving him the reins, giving him the belt as the guy that is the Toronto Raptors leader. But frankly, I think the fact that Scottie Barnes is working on those shots that you make, even when the defenses look at you as a 1A option, especially with those middies, those off the dribble taking bumps and knocking down jumpers. That is going to be huge for his development because, again, he didn't really need that when you have the benefit of playing off of Pascal Siakam, to a lesser extent OG Anunoby, to even lesser extent of Fred VanVleet a couple seasons ago. But obviously, Scottie Barnes is the focal point now on this team. IQ, RJ will take some of the load off, but Scottie is that 1A, and he's going to need to be able to knock down these shots and really take this team to the next level. He also had a very interesting quote talking about his confidence and in regards to his career high, saying 32, that's trash. I'm getting that first game. So he's coming out confident that he's going to take a level up this upcoming season, and I'm all here for it. So shout out to Scottie Barnes development, and I'm here for the rise of Scottie Barnes to dominate this league. So all this talk about tanking Cooper Flag and all these types of things, Scottie Barnes can be a 1A superstar or something, then this rebuild might get expedited, but that's obviously optimistic. But let's dive into the next topic, a Raptors draft update, because again, Zach Edey has been a polarizing figure in terms of whether or not Raptors fans want to select him, whether or not it makes sense. Obviously, his stats are phenomenal. You know, Zach Edey, a guy that in college averaged 25 points per game, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 62% from the field. Zach Edey, college, was certainly that guy. But how his game will translate, some people don't know. And, but even a month ago, it felt like Zach Edey was going to be going the second round. It'd be a reach for the Toronto Raptors to even select him at the 18th or 19th overall pick that we currently have. It seems like there's a likely chance he might not be available. And that's what recent sort of mock drafts are proposing, as we can take a look at it from Hoopsite. Essentially, in their recent mock draft, they have Zach Edey going 18 to the Orlando Magic, one pick before the Toronto Raptors, essentially saying that while Orlando is expected to prioritize shooting this offseason to improve the team, some rival executives around the league believe Orlando could look to add a center to its rotation. And Purdue center Zach Edey, two-time National Player of the Year, is a dominant low-post scorer, rebounder, rim protector, and some NBA talent evaluators. However, some believe he'll get targeted defensively in pick-and-roll actions and struggle guarding smaller guards on the perimeter. So there's a debate going on with Zach Edey still, but he rises up the mock drafts, and now they have him going ahead of a guy that we'll take a look at this point, who's mocked to go to the Toronto Raptors, Kel'el Ware, who, yes, doesn't have the same stats as Zach Edey. 16 points per game, 10 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 58% of the field. Definitely not bad, but not the same level of stats that Edey was certainly putting up as a National Player of the Year. But there's other things that Kel'el Ware does bring to the table. You know, he's 7'1", 230, so 70 pounds less than a Zach Edey, even if he is a few inches shorter. But he's 2 years younger, and he has a better jump shot. He's more of a bouncy shot blocker and things like that. So Kel'el Ware is another guy that I see Raptors fans very interested in, and basically, that's where the mock drafts essentially have the Toronto Raptors going with these selections. Essentially, regarding the draft, the Raptors would love homegrown Canadian-born players and are a team to monitor for Zach Edey if he falls to this pick. However, with Edey going to Orlando in this aggregate mock draft poll, Kel'el Ware is an intriguing front court addition and is improving his stock mightily in his sophomore season after transferring to Indiana, where ranked in the 87th percentile in terms of a post score, while developing a consistent right-hand hook shot and turnaround fadeaway jumper over his right shoulder and the block to complement his three-point shot that shoots at 42% from behind the three-point line. He says he's definitely able to pick and pop, be able to pick and roll. Ware told Hoopsite he can be that lob threat. He's not slow. He's able to move his feet and be able to defend on the perimeter and defend guards. Been working on that time and time before the draft and being able to just go out there and compete. So essentially little shots at Zach Edey, the question marks there about Zach Edey's game. He's saying, hey, I can do all these things that Zach Edey can't. And, you know, obviously homegrown Canadian talent, Zach Edey's very polarizing. Kel'el Ware is another piece that there's polarizing things, there's questions about his work ethic, but those seem to be shut down after a season in Indiana and things like that. He's a guy that I'd also love to see in a Toronto Raptors uniform, again, especially if Zach Edey is not going to be available. So that's interesting to see. And some people are saying, hey, would the Raptors trade up in the NBA draft? Zach Edey, you know, seems like he's going to get traded before. Well, Doug Smith essentially came out and said that if any team is looking to move, it's with a specific player in mind, and I don't believe that player is Edey. So Doug Smith does not expect the Toronto Raptors to trade up in the NBA draft in hopes of selecting Zach. If they're going to trade up, it's going to be for another player. But again, The draft is extremely unpredictable. Things can be changing day by day. So keep it locked to Raptors Digest so we can keep you up to date on everything that's happening regarding this team for the NBA draft. But you guys are the best thing to get this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.